I'm Lynn Fischer, and this is the Low Cholesterol Gourmet Collector's Edition video. You know, I love helping people remove the saturated fats and cholesterol in their foods. So I've selected special recipes especially for you. I found in my travels on television and doing demonstrations and lectures, and also being a mother of 2 grown children and a grandmother, that most people want low-fat recipes that are quick and easy to prepare. So many of the following recipes take only 15 minutes. Some of the other recipes that are continually requested are holiday recipes, because you don't have to wait until after the holidays to start your special super healthy eating plan for you and your family. So I've included those too. Finally, I've also included some unusual and fun and spectacular and updated ways to buy, prepare, and serve foods that you like the best. I hope you enjoy these. I had a lot of fun making these foods and sneaking out all that fat without ever compromising on the taste. So sit back and enjoy. And remember, if you want to spend more time with any part of this program, just use the pause button on your VCR, okay? So let's get on to our first recipe. This is one of my Tex-Mex recipes, huevos rancheros. We're going to make today huevos rancheros. One of the few languages I speak just a few words of is Spanish, and I love eggs that have kind of a Spanish bite, pepper, maybe some jalapeno peppers or some Tabasco in it, some kind of a spice that makes them really kind of hot on your tongue, add some heat to it. So first, when I put the fire on underneath the pan, but the first thing I'm going to do is, instead of putting any fat or oil, again, I just use a little bit of water. This is about 1/4 of an inch of water, not very much, but just a little bit of water. Then what takes the longest to cook when you're making eggs, I'm going to put this fire up real high. I'm going to put these onions in. Now this, for 2 people, this is about the right amount of onions, and that's about a 1/2 cup. I happen to like a lot of onions in everything. I'm going to put a little bit of garlic in here too. It's hard to have huevos rancheros without a tiny little bit of garlic. And remember, don't let the garlic burn, because it tastes terrible when it burns. All right, we've got the onions cooking and the garlic cooking up. They take the longest, and added to that, I'm going to put in these green peppers. Oh, we've got some nice pepper seeds in there, and I think I'll use a little more pepper seeds. When you're making something with peppers, you can use pepper seeds. It's nice fiber. And I'm just going to thumb a few off. Some peppers have a lot of seeds in them, and some don't have any. These don't have any, very few. But I'll just thumb them off. They're sweet, and they're good in salads, too. And maybe I'll put a few more peppers in there, and I'm just going to cut these up by hand. One of the things that makes eggs and other dishes look wonderful is when you have large pieces of food, and you don't try to have little mincy pieces. It looks abundant and fresh. I could put some red bell peppers in there if I wanted to. I'm using green this time. While those are cooking, I'm going to put some tomatoes in there too. In fact, I think I'll heat these with just a little bit of this tomato juice, about a 1/2 cup. So you're going to use some canned tomatoes. You can use fresh tomatoes. Fresh tomatoes are a little bit more watery and take a little more time to kind of cook down. So I'm going to put a little bit of the tomato juice in there as they cook, give it a little bit more flavor. Hello, this is my home kitchen. I'll be interrupting the recipes every once in a while to invite you here to have some special tips that only you home video viewers will have. I want to give you some tips about the huevos rancheros that I do. You don't have quite enough time in the set kitchen to do it, but I can do it here for you. There are lots of other things that you can put in the huevos rancheros, such as, these are kidney beans. These are light ones. You can also use dark ones. These are black beans. You can use other kind of beans too, pinto beans. These are the chilies, you know, the kind that are canned, come in a little tiny can. You can use those. You can use corn. You can use more cumin. You can use more chili powder. And that sauce that you're making for huevos rancheros, that's a universal sauce. You can put it over noodles, over pasta, over rice. There's lots of things you can do with it. When you're doing the sausage now, after you mix it all up, be sure you put it in a baggie and put it in the refrigerator for about 8 hours so the flavors meld and blend. You can put it in longer if you want. And now let's go back to my set kitchen. I've just chopped up about a can of tomatoes. Now the spices are what make this really good. And these are the spices. Some cumin, and this is about, let's use about a half a teaspoon of it. And we'll mix that in really well. And about a teaspoon, a whole teaspoon of chili powder, even 2 teaspoons. You can use a lot. I'll use a little bit of oregano, and that'll be about a half a teaspoon. And the best part, I think, the hot sauce. There we go. And we'll let that cook away. Now, one of the things I want to show you is how easily these eggs cook up. Well, let's see if I've got some more. I had a carton back there, and it's disappeared. Here we go. We'll use these. If somebody else could bring me a carton, and we'll put it back over here, because I want to show you how these eggs cook up, because they do cook up very nicely, these substitute eggs. Now, I'm going to just mix them up here. I'm using a rubber spatula this time. This is a very hot pan. Here we go. But they cook up very nicely, and they start getting thick right away. They cook up just like a regular egg does. All right, and I'm going to turn this flame down because I've got a real high flame on here. You can see they're getting just a little bit brown, so let's turn this down. I'm going to add a little bit more here because I want to show you how nicely that these kinds of eggs, if you've never used them before, these are imitation eggs, mostly egg white, but they don't have the yolk, which is where the cholesterol is. I want to show you how nicely they scramble up. You can't tell the difference. Put a little bit of salt in there. This is light salt now. This is half potassium, half salt, and not a lot. And we'll put some pepper in there. And I'm going to turn this pan down, this nice iron skillet. Let's see, let's turn this off, because they'll keep right on cooking in here, and then they'll be finished about the time we want to put our huevos rancheros together, because we're going to just put this over scrambled eggs, or we can put it over an omelet. Now, you may see that I'm cooking something on here, and this is sausage. And you say, wait a minute, sausage? Can I have sausage on this kind of a diet? Yes. If you make it with the kind of sausage that is like this. This is a pork tenderloin. Let me bring it over to you. This is what it looks like when you buy it. So you just want it to be very, very lean. You see how lean that is? It's absolutely beautiful. And it has no fat in it at all. We've cut all the fat off of it. So that's what you're going to have it ground up into. And you're going to put a lot of spices in that, depending on your favorite spices. Now, we've got some spices over here that I'm going to put in. This is what it looks like. I'm going to make one of these, another one, because I've got some cooking here, but they have hardly any fat at all because it's the pork tenderloin. And let's turn this off. There we go. So that, oh, I've got a great big sausage and a little tiny sausage. Let's make that more equal. There. Now, since I'm dealing with raw pork, well, let me make this for you very quickly because I want to do an omelet for you. I'm going to use, and you want to let these stay in your refrigerator overnight. I've got some very hot pepper flakes. I'm going to use some sage, a little bit of marjoram, some brown sugar, some bay leaf, maybe a little bit of maple syrup or something, some spices that you like, and mix them up and look and see in your cookbook what kind of spices that you like, or look in my cookbook and see what kind of spices you like in your sausage. And don't get a cookbook unless it has the saturated fat. A lot of the new cookbooks only have the cholesterol and the total fat. So when you're getting your cookbook, make sure it's got the saturated fat in it too. So when you look up and find the favorite spices you want, put this in a plastic bag and put this in your refrigerator, and you will have wonderful sausage with no fat in it. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands with soap because I've been handling raw pork. A little extra soap. Now, I'm going to make a very quick omelet and show you how to do this. Put this on. Let's just mix that and we'll bake this. Substitute eggs make up in an omelet a little bit differently. So I'm going to use our substitute eggs. I'm going to put it in here this time. And I'm not going to pre-cook the items. I'm going to put that in. And that's ham. That's about 1/4 cup. This is about 1/2 cup of green pepper. And how about some low saturated fat cheese? We'll put this in too. All right, I'm going to mix that around. Now, if you want to, you can use some regular egg whites and you can mix them up with a whisk so you get lots of air in them, and we will add that, and then we will cook that. I'm going to put a little bit of let's see if I have some flour. If you have some flour, maybe a teaspoon or 2 of flour. How are our eggs doing? Great. Okay. How is our huevos rancheros doing, our sauce? Great. Everything is doing great. And I'll be back and I'll have this all whipped up for you and have this omelet made.
And now, today's main recipe dish. This is huevos rancheros. It means ranch eggs, and they're delicious and spicy. 1 clove garlic minced, 1 large onion, Spanish of course, coarsely chopped, 1 green pepper cut in 3/4 inch squares, something big, seeds reserved, 1 cup hand-squeezed canned tomatoes or diced fresh tomatoes, juice reserved, 2 teaspoons chili powder, 1/2 teaspoon ground cumin, 1/2 teaspoon dried oregano, 1/2 teaspoon chopped cilantro, and that's optional, light salt, and that's optional, black pepper, several drops of Tabasco sauce or other hot sauce, or use an 1/8 teaspoon of finely chopped jalapeno pepper, 4 egg whites, 4 substitute eggs. And now, here is the recipe for slim sausage. Be sure to refrigerate it after you mix in the spices for at least 8 hours so the flavors have a chance to meld. 1 pound completely defatted lean tenderloin of choice pork, all the exterior fat, gristle, and membrane removed, and have it ground twice. 1/2 teaspoon of crumbled dried sage, 1/2 teaspoon of crumbled dried summer savory, 1/4 teaspoon of crumbled dried marjoram, 1/4 teaspoon of crumbled dried thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of finely crumbled bay leaf, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of brown sugar or maple syrup, 1/4 teaspoon hot red pepper flakes or more, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of light salt, and that's optional, and 1/2 cup of canola rapeseed oil, and that's the same thing. Most people call it canola. You can pour the hot sauce over the scrambled eggs or put it alongside. You can see it looks beautiful. Isn't it delicious looking? The cholesterol and fat are reduced 90% in the eggs and 60% in the sausage. And now, back to the recipes.
Welcome back to my home. You know, we're going from Tex-Mex to Asian, but they have a lot of the same foods and spices that they use. For instance, both Tex-Mex and Asian food uses lots of onions, and they use in Asian food, they use chili in Tex-Mex, but this is chili in an oil. This is what I use in a lot of Asian food. It's called Chinese hot oil. It's not hot. In fact, it's hot to the tongue, but it's just not hot. You know what I mean, hot. It won't burn your fingers. But I keep a lot of my oils in the refrigerator because they stay fresher longer there. And I want to show you some things that I keep hanging behind me, and you may have some of them hanging in your kitchen because you see them a lot in the shops and you may be tempted to buy them. They're beautiful looking, like the garlic and the peppers here, but I wouldn't use them. The garlic dries out very, very fast. If you use it up really quickly, then it'll work, but I've sometimes tried to use it, maybe a month later and it's too dry. I can't use it. And this becomes kind of dusty because you want to chop it, and it is so hard that I can't always get it to hydrate fast enough for use in my food. So I would suggest not using the ornamentals, because once you take the garlic out, it looks funny too. Now, let's go back to my set kitchen and finish up with our recipes. Welcome back. We're making quick, low cholesterol, low fat foods. Let's start with duck. Wild duck is quite lean. Domestic duck can be terribly, terribly fatty. But if you love duck as I do, you won't mind taking the extra effort to remove the fat and the skin because that's where the saturates are. Right here is a duck breast, the whole breast, both sides, and you can see the skin can be pulled off. You have to work at it, but it's real important to take all of the skin off. If you don't want to take the time to do that, you can cook it with the skin. You can see it's going to peel, and if I continue to work and take some scissors and a knife, I can get most of that off. But let's say I don't want to take the time to do that. What I can do is I can microwave this because I don't want to put this in my stir fry because I'm going to make a stir fry. But I can microwave it, and I'll put it on my microwave dish, and I'll put it in a baggie that'll go in my microwave, and at least I will have the duck heated, and then I can cut all the fat off a little bit easier. All right, I'm going to give this a little poke here for an air vent. I'm going to put it in the microwave for about 10 minutes. I'll set that for 10 minutes. I'm going to make a duck stir fry, but this duck, you can see how beautiful it is. I've already taken all the fat off of it, so I don't have to microwave it ahead of time. I can do it just like I do chicken because it has no fat at all on it. So we're going to do our stir fry in a wok today, and I'll do it as I usually do with water. This is about a cup of water, enough so we get a nice head of steam going. First thing I'll put in are a lot of onions. And do you notice I cut them really big so they're beautiful and they look lush? Put lots of onions in there, about a whole cup. And then the next longest cooking vegetable, you could put some sweet potatoes in there if you wanted to. I'm going to put in some carrots. And they take a little while to cook, so we'll put those in for a few minutes. I'll put the peppers in with them. These are red peppers and green peppers and some yellow peppers. And mainly this is for color and because I like a lot of peppers. And I'll stir those up just a little bit. Put a little bit of flavoring in this. And I want these to cook just a little bit so that they get started. And I'll put the duck in with it. And they're cooking away. And they will take a little bit longer to cook than some of our other foods such as the broccoli. I don't like broccoli too well cooked, or the bok choy, or the snow peas. So I'll put all of this duck in here. This is about maybe 2/3 of a cup of duck. Every bit of fat is taken off of that duck. And that is a domestic duck, normally a pretty fatty duck. Let me wipe my hands off here. I'm going to put some scallions in there and a lot of other foods, and we're going to thicken this up, and I want it to steam just a tiny bit, so I'll put this soy sauce. It's 2 or 3 tables of low-sodium soy, and I'll let this cook for a little while, and then I'll add all of my other flavors. I'm going to wash my hands because after I work with any poultry that's raw, I want to make sure to wash my hands because there's a yucky disease called salmonella, so always wash it with soap. Now, we're going to make a quick cooking ramen or very quick cooking noodle. This is an oriental noodle, the ramen noodle is. Let me show you what it looks like. Here's a package. Looks just like this. It comes in a package. Sometimes it looks a little bit different. Very fast cooking. Have you seen the fast cooking pastas they have today? Almost all kinds of pasta can be made really fast. Now, this isn't the pasta that's fresh, that's really soft. This is pasta that's dry. It stores for a long time. This one says that it takes 2 minutes to cook. This is like an angel hair pasta that's probably flavored with spaghetti, flavored with spinach because it's green. It could be flavored with artichoke or something else. This one says spinach, but a lot of different flavors go to make a green spinach. And this takes 2 minutes. It's wonderful. Now this one is a lasagna that looks like a piece of something you'd put on your house or something. But it's delicious. It takes about 1.5 minutes to cook. And this, of course, is the ramen, which takes just a few minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Now, if I broke that in half, one of these would be enough for one person, unless you're like I am and then you want more. So I'm going to cook these up right now. I've got my water boiling away, and it just takes a few moments. And as soon as I put them in, I want to start breaking them apart because if I don't, they can sometimes stay together. So I'll let those, and they get really gooky then and kind of sticking together. So I'll just let those boil away for just a moment. We'll take a look at what our, there we go. Let's turn this fire up just a little bit more. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to move all of this away, and I'll start my salad. Let's see how this is doing. Move this duck around. It's boiling nicely, and as soon as this starts to cook a little bit more, then I'm going to add some of the other vegetables. But I want these to cook down more before I add any of the vegetables. With our stir fry, I'm going to have a cucumber salad. Traditional Japanese food is a cucumber salad. This is real easy, has no fat in it. Very, very simple. Move some of this away so you can see it. Let me check those noodles, see how they're doing. All right, now can you see those? Now is when I want to start breaking them up because they're just starting to cook, and I want to break them apart, otherwise they'll stay in that block. And they're doing beautifully. Don't put any salt in the water. I don't need to because if I need to have any salt in it, I can add it a little bit later with the low-sodium soy. There. There, that's breaking up very nicely. Look at that thing. They stick to it, don't they? Stay right on it. Okay, let's get that off. All right. Now, our cucumber salad, let's move this off, is very simple. It is nothing more than cucumbers and sugar and rice vinegar. And if you have a nice little harp, do you have one of those gadgets that you can cut these up really fast? I've got one. I'm just going to slice these cucumbers up. These are the burpless kind of cucumbers. You don't have to take the skin off of them, and they're wonderful. We want to let this sit for about a half an hour in the vinegar and the sugar. I'll use some nice sliced red onions, and I'll put it in here, about a teaspoon of sugar and some rice vinegar. This is a white vinegar, and we'll let that sit for about 30 minutes, and in a moment I'll have some more quick and easy, healthy, great tasting recipes in the Oriental style.
And now, today's main recipe dish. This is duck stir fry. You can also make it with chicken or with turkey. Into 1 cup of water, which should be about a ½ inch in the pan, add 1 cup of chopped Spanish onions, 1/2 cup of sliced sweet potatoes, 1/2 cup of sliced carrots, 1/2 cup of chopped red peppers, yellow peppers, and green peppers, and that's 1/2 cup each. Add 3 tablespoons of low-sodium soy sauce, 1 cup of chopped scallions, 1/2 cup of sliced water chestnuts. They're canned. Be sure to drain them. 2 cups sliced bok choy, 1 cup broccoli florets, 1 cup snow peas. Then add 2 cups of defatted chicken stock, 2 teaspoons of chopped ginger. It can be candied, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of Chinese hot oil. Then, to thicken into 1/2 cup of chicken stock that's defatted, add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Make sure the chicken stock is cool. Mix them together and add to the cooking sauce, and it will thicken very quickly. And now, back to the recipes.
We're making foods that seem out of the ordinary, maybe even a little bit exotic, because we're using duck. And usually you don't think of duck on a heart-healthy diet, but we took all the fat off of it. And these are actually very simple to make and, of course, very easy on your heart. I've had this stir-fry cooking away with our duck in it. And I'm going to add some more vegetables now. I want to add the ones that take the least amount of time last. I don't like broccoli cooked very much, so I'm going to put it in now. And I'll put in the scallions now. I can put in these water chestnuts. These are canned water chestnuts that are drained. I can put them in any time. I can put them in now. They seem to hold their shape if I could put them in right at the beginning, it wouldn't make any difference. They hold their shape anyway. Then I'll stir that up. I'm going to add those snow peas last and let these get nice and steamy. And when the broccoli starts to green up, that guy's a little bit too big. Let me cut him smaller here. Whoop. All right. Let's cut this guy just a little bit smaller. So they're kind of bite-sized, so people don't have too hard a time when they're trying to eat it. But fairly big pieces. You can see how big these peppers are, and they look lovely. I'll cover that for just a few more minutes. Let that steam. After our salad has sat for about 30 minutes in the sugar and in the vinegar, let me get the rest of the sugar out. I'll put some more onions on top when I serve it, and I'm going to put some sesame seeds on top. Because the sesame seeds, I've toasted them just a little bit in the oven. You don't have to toast them if you don't want to, but they add a nice oriental flavor to this, and it makes it extra special delicious. You can see how pretty that looks, and that's a salad that has no fat in it, has lots of flavor. The ramen noodles have been cooking. I actually started a new set of ramen noodles while we were waiting so they wouldn't overcook. These are easy to work with one of these great big forks. I'm just going to take them out and put them in here. Mix them all up here. Let's see what we've got. We've got some fire on underneath here. Let's put some on. There we go. I'll take the rest of these out because we're going to flavor these. I could drain these in a colander if I wanted to, but they stick together with this fork really nicely, so I don't actually have to do that. Let's check and see how I don't want these to overcook. They're doing beautifully. Now I'm going to flavor my ramen noodles. Let's take this right over here because it's a real simple flavor. Let's put it right alongside here. Hope you can see this. All right. I have about a cup of cornstarch that I'm going to put in here. And I'm going to put some garlic in. Some of the basics of Chinese cookery are garlic and ginger and soy. Let this cook up just a little bit. And you taste the garlic in this. And I'm going to put some sugar in this too. A little bit of soy in these ramen. There we go. And it turns the color dark. This is a very light sodium soy. It's not a regular soy. You can get it that's light sodium. Some has more sodium than others, so look at the label. This is a little bit of lemon juice, not very much, and some brown sugar. You often find Oriental cooking, especially their ramen noodles, has a lot of sugar in it. And that sugar was kind of in the center, so I'm going to stir it up here. So it all gets nicely done. I can smell that garlic cooking really beautifully. All right, I'm just going to let that heat up just a tiny, tiny bit. Turn that down because I don't want those noodles to overcook. And see how this is doing. Beautiful. I'll add these snow peas to it. I have a lot of stuff here in front of me. Now I've already taken this chicken stock and defatted it. But I want to add a little bit more. And all the time you're cooking these stir fries, you can add more liquid to it anytime you want. And I want to start flavoring this just a little bit more as these snow peas are greening up. And they'll green up very fast in just about 2 minutes. I'm going to put some ginger in here. I have about maybe 2 teaspoons of ginger. We have used candied ginger this time, all cut up. Most of the candy has been rinsed off, but you don't have to do that because I'm going to put some brown sugar in this anyway. And this is about 2 or 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. And let's mash that up and along the side so I know it's going to mix really well with it. There we go. Now, some hot oil. Now this is a Chinese hot oil, and Chinese hot oil is it's not heated, it's just very spicy. Chinese like a lot of chili in their food. Japanese use some very spicy sauces too, like wasabi, which is a horseradish, and that's in sushi usually. Okay, this is a Chinese hot oil, and it'll give it a lot of heat. You could put more in. I've got about probably a half a teaspoon in there. Now, the only thing that's wrong with this for me is that the sauce isn't very thick. So I'm going to thicken the sauce with a little bit of this chicken stock, which is cool, and some cornstarch. Our ramen noodles are almost done, so I'm going to turn this down. And about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. There, and I'm going to stir this up. And that's about a half a cup of stock, and I'm just going to put that in. You see how it gets nice and gray over in the corner, and I want to mix that around fairly quickly so that will start to thicken up, because you want this to look exactly like the Chinese food that you're used to eating or the Japanese food that you're used to eating, which has a very nice, thick sauce. This is absolutely perfect. You can see how nice and thick the sauce is. It's just the way it should be. Looks like it was cooked with a lot of fat, doesn't it? But it wasn't.
Isn't this beautiful? Your family will love it, and it tastes delicious. It has almost no fat because we completely defatted the duck, and only about 20 milligrams of cholesterol per serving. You'll love it. And now, back to the recipes.
Let's go to fajitas, a dish that comes to the table sizzling with vegetables and usually meat. But you can make it without meat. You can make it also with chicken or with pork. Today it's beef. It's defatted, of course. This is the way that I like the beef to look. This is a skirt steak. You can use a flank steak too, but you can see this has no fat at all. Now the skirt steak comes from the part of the steer or cow that's behind the ribs. It's part of the diaphragm. It moves a lot, so it's tough and it has lots of flavor. And it's very striate. You can see all the striates in it. It's got lots of flavor. Part of the beef that moves a lot has lots of flavor. Now, this is what it looks like when you buy it. It's really quite long. This is just a piece of it. But look at the other side, full of fat. So what we're going to do first is to defat it. You'll need a real sharp knife for this, and it will pull up. If you cut it, can you see that? It'll pull off. It takes a little while, but it's worth it, because this is where the saturates are. Remember, the saturates are in the fat, and if you keep working at this, you can get all of that fat off, and that's what you want to do, and that's what we have done with our, whoops, I'm getting too much meat there. But I would rather lose a little meat and get all the fat off. And it doesn't matter how you slice this up, because it's a very stringy, flavorful meat. But this is what you want it to look like, just like that. So you have a piece of skirt steak, not quite like that. Let's make this just a little bit better. So it looks like that, and that'll make have a lot of flavor in it. But you want to marinate it first. Now, usually you marinate this for just a few hours, but you can marinate it for longer if you have to. I know it's happened to me where I've gotten stuck, and I've had this marinating for as long as 5 days in a very cold part of the refrigerator, and it was delicious. After I marinated, let's make the marinade first. Now, the marinade is garlic, and use as much as you like. We've got about 2 cloves of garlic here, kind of smushed and chopped, and you know how to do that. You can, when you have the whole garlic, you can take the back of the knife if you want and just lean on it like this, or you can put it in your garlic mincer. It doesn't have to be done really carefully. You're going to use this in your cooking anyway with your vegetables. And about 3 tablespoons of vinegar, and some oregano. Now, if you're not an oregano lover, leave it out, but it makes a very good flavor. Some sugar, about a teaspoon, and some chili powder. This is a teaspoon. You can use more or less depending on what you like. Sometimes I make it with a lot more. All right, that's nice and stirred up, and we'll put this on the beef, and we'll put the beef covered in the refrigerator. And as I said, you can do this for just a couple of hours, or you can do it for as long as 5 days. Now, I'm going to grill, really. You could put this in the broiler, too. This meat now has been marinating for several hours. 5 is a good number. I'm going to put it on the grill because I want to cook it with a certain flavor that will not happen if I add it to my vegetables. So let's get all of this out here. Isn't this a handy grill to have right on top of your stove? As I say, you could do this on a tray in the broiler, or if you've got one of those little ovens that you can put sandwiches in it to brown them, like what are they called? Like little toaster ovens. The kind that are flat now, not the kind that you have to drop it in. Now this marinade we're going to use to cook the vegetables. Oh, 1 piece of meat got away, so let's put that back there. Now, this gives all the vegetables a good flavor, and we're using red peppers and green peppers and yellow peppers and onions, and a lot of them, just as many as you like, and I like lots of onions. And I'm going to put some water in here so that all the flavor doesn't go. They will kind of steam slightly. All right, let's move this aside. Now, when I finish with these, I want to serve them in my fajitas, so here in my tortillas, and these are flour tortillas, and to cook them, I want to cook them about 15 minutes, and I'm going to put them in some foil so that they get nice and hot, kind of steamed. And you see how I'm doing this? You can put them in just like this. I'll keep an eye on these, make sure that they're going to cook really nicely, because all of this water and this nice juice from the marinade will cook down and flavor all these. And by the time these are all cooked, it takes about 7 or 8 minutes for these to cook. There won't be any liquid there. So I'm going to put this in like so, put this in the oven so that these get nice and warm, and I've layered this, as you can see, so they kind of steam with the moisture that's in themselves, but they're nicely covered. Now you could wrap some of this in a tea towel if you wanted to. I'll put it in a very slow oven so that they don't get crisp, because I want to keep them real soft, and they're going to cook like this for about 15 minutes. There we go.
And now, today's main recipe dish. You'll want to marinate your meat for at least 8 hours or overnight. Here's the marinade. 1/4 cup vinegar, 1 teaspoon sugar, 1/2 teaspoon light salt, and that's optional. 1 teaspoon chili powder, 2 cloves garlic minced, 1 teaspoon dried oregano, and for the meat, 3/4 pound lean top round, cut in inch wide, 1/4 inch deep by 3 inches long strips. 8 large flour tortillas, 2 large Spanish onions sliced in inch wide rounds, each round about 1/2 inch. 1 green pepper cut in inch wide strips, 1 red pepper cut in inch wide strips, 1 yellow pepper cut in inch wide strips, 1½ cups salsa, and 2 cups of guacamole. Fajitas are delicious fun for everyone in the family, or just for you alone. They're really easy to reheat. Don't they look great? And they have per serving just 25 milligrams of cholesterol and only a trace of saturated fat. Welcome back to my home kitchen. You know, you want to have several servings of grain a day, but did you know there's grain in the fajitas? There's corn in the wrappers, and there's grain in breads, maybe rye, wheat. There's also wheat in the pasta, so you can have lots of grain and eat all the kinds of foods that you love. And now back to my set kitchen. Now we're going to make Dan Dan noodles. Most Chinese restaurants have Dan Dan noodles, and they are delicious. You can have them hot or cold. These Dan Dan noodles I've made with not Asian style noodles. I've used really Italian noodles. This is a perchiatelli noodle, and you can see that it's, if I show it to you, I want to show you the end of it because it's like a macaroni. It's got a little hole in the end, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's delicious to eat, and it works well with this. It's cooked al dente, and it'll be just perfect. And let me show you the sauce now that I'm going to make for you for our Dan Dan noodles. Now, a lot of people like it with peanut butter. You can make it with peanut butter if you want. This is the peanut butter, and maybe it's a little bit easier, but to make it right, you have to go to the Asian store anyway, and so I'm not going to use the peanut butter. I'm going to use sesame paste, which has a different taste. This isn't worse, it's just different. Remember, peanuts do have quite a bit of saturated fat, but sesame oil does too, and so does sesame paste. Not quite as much. This is what the sesame paste looks like, and it's dark, and it's delicious, and it smells very pungent. All right, first I'm going to put a little bit of chicken broth in here, and that's not very much. It could be about 1/4 cup. We'll put our sesame paste in here, and that's about 3 tablespoons. You can see how thick that is, and it's supposed to look like that. And we'll get that all around here so it separates, and we'll add our other ingredients to it. I'm going to use all of that sesame paste. When I'm using 3 tablespoons and I'm feeding so many people, 4 people for this recipe, then the 3 tablespoons, that goes quite a ways, and you don't have that many saturates. All right, now in that also I'm going to put some low sodium soy and some black vinegar. Now black vinegar is something that you will have to get there because it has a different flavor. Put that in. And this is sesame oil. You don't want to use the light sesame oil that you see. This is about 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. The sesame oil you see in the regular store is not that color. It's a light pale color, and it has a different flavor. It's used for different dishes, but not for this. Not for these great Dan Dan noodles. All right, I do want to put some garlic and ginger in here and let this cook up a little bit. And remember, whenever you cook garlic, don't let it burn, because when it burns, it has the most bitter flavor. A little bit of ginger, and that was about 1.5 cloves of garlic and about 1 teaspoon of ginger. In most Oriental food, they have a little bit of sugar. You can use brown sugar or white sugar. This is use about 1/2 teaspoon. I don't want to use much. I don't think we'll need any salt in this because the soy, even the light sodium soy, already has salt in it. Now these scallions I'm going to use on top for a garnish. I'll put these right in here and mix it all up. Now these are just cooked just the way regular noodles are cooked, and I'll put that sauce on there, mix them all up, heat up these noodles. And here's our recipe. 1 pound perchiatelli noodles. Now that's the long, hollow spaghetti. 1/2 teaspoon sesame oil, 2 teaspoons of chopped fresh ginger, 3 tablespoons of sesame paste or peanut butter. You can use either one. 4 tablespoons defatted chicken broth or just plain water. several drops of Chinese hot oil, 3 tablespoons low-sodium soy sauce, 1 tablespoon dark sesame oil, and you need to buy that in an Oriental market, 1 teaspoon Chinese black vinegar. You need to buy that in an Oriental market too. A pinch of sugar, 2 cloves of minced garlic, and for garnish, 1/2 cup of chopped scallions, some shredded cucumber, and some chopped cilantro. And now, back to the program.
All right, now in our dan dan noodles, I want to add some Chinese hot oil just to kind of finish it off, and some scallions. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with the scallions in a minute. So I'll add the Chinese hot oil, give that a chance. It's on a very low burner. Give that a chance to get kind of mixed in. Use this judiciously now, because it can be very, very spicy. This is, when I say hot oil, it doesn't mean it's heated. It means it's got a real spicy flavor to it, made with their chilies. All right, and this is now going to permeate in the dan dan noodles. And I like the dan dan noodles hot. You may like them cold, but I think they're wonderful hot. I'm going to put some scallions on them. Give these just a little bit of chance to have some of the flavor kind of sink in. And I'll turn it around just a couple of times here, so the scallions flavor it all, and then I'll serve that. I think it's wonderful. Now, if you want to cool it down, just put it in the refrigerator overnight, and you'll have it the next day. All right, now let's make some Chinese cabbage, because all we're going to do with this is heat up this oyster sauce, bought in the bottle just like this. I want it to be hot because I want to drizzle it over my greens. And the greens I'm going to use today are traditional Oriental greens. Let me turn this down. There we go. Okay, that's starting to, I can see that bubbling already. Now, the greens I'm going to use today are Napa cabbage. This is a Chinese style of cabbage. It's delicious. It's not very strong. It tastes good. You can have it raw or you can have it cooked. And we'll just take the end off of that. We don't have to use this now. If we don't have Napa cabbage, or someone in your family, they don't think they like it too well, or they're not sure, but they will like it. They really will. Just cut it up like so. This has got a spot in the middle, and we'll just take that out. All right. And we'll use that a little bit later. Let's cut this in half so that it'll cook up nicely. Now, you can also use a bok choy if you want to. Let me get the ends of this out of here. This is a bok choy. This is delicious. This is another type of mustard green here on the end, and you can do it with this. And if I were going to do it with this, I would do exactly the same thing. Cut off the end and cut off all these nice big pieces up until I get to the green. Now, the green I probably would not use for this. I would probably just use the ends with this little tiny bit of gorgeous green here that's in the center. So I'll put in, I think I'll put in the, why don't we use the, you want to use the bok choy? I'll use the bok choy today. Let's break this end apart. And the Napa, maybe we'll use for a raw salad. All right, now, to cook that, I'm going to put a little tiny bit of water in my wok. And this is a non-stick wok. It's a nice wok. And let's see, here's another spoon. And I'll put about 2 tablespoons of garlic in there and some fresh ginger in there. And that's real simple. Now, if I wanted to, now I've showed you the Napa cabbage and the bok choy. If I didn't have that, you know what else works just as well? This, romaine. Gorgeous. Romaine will work beautifully.
These are our dan dan noodles. Oh, are they good? They have no cholesterol. Remember, cholesterol is only in animal products, and they only have about 1 gram of saturated fat. But aren't they gorgeous? Now, for the bok choy, remember you can use bok choy, Napa cabbage, romaine, or lots of other coarse chopped lettuces. It's wonderful. Now, the bottled oyster sauce, you heat that. You can buy that in an Asian shop. It is delicious, and doesn't it look beautiful? And you know something else? It's all very quick.
Welcome back to my home kitchen. One of the things people tell me is so hard for them, and it needn't be, is when they're going to cook dinner for 1 or 2 and you want it to be low cholesterol and low saturated fat. It needn't be hard. When you're using my cookbook, you can make the recipes for 4 or 6 or 8, and then you can freeze it. Remember, the first day when you have foods like chili or
pasta, the sauce. The first day it has a fresh taste. The next day or the next 2 or 3 days, because the flavors have blended and melded, it has a different flavor. It's just wonderful. It's delicious either way. So when you're making dinner for just yourself, set the table beautifully. That's what I do. I always use paper napkins because I hate to wash napkins. Have some wine, or if you don't drink wine, you can use in your beautiful glasses. You can use some apple juice. They even have sparkling cider. My mother gave me this beautiful milk glass, and you'll see it every once in a while, even in my set kitchen, because we use a lot of our home things. And I wanted to show this to you because I use it a lot. And I use it when I'm cooking dinner just for myself. And now back to my set kitchen. I'm going to fix a romantic dinner for two that's great for your heart, great for your heartbeat too. Can low-fat food be sexy? I think low-fat food is the sexiest food in the world. In fact, I think food that has fat in it isn't sexy at all. We're going to start with our appetizer of asparagus. Now, I've steamed this asparagus for just a few minutes in water. I took it out, drained it right away, didn't let it sit in the water because you know what happens if you let it sit in the water. It gets really mushy. And it's nice and cold now, and this is going to be our appetizer. So I'm going to make a vinaigrette for that. But first, I'm going to cook some artichokes because they take a little longer. The artichokes I'll do just 3 of instead of 2. I'll have an extra one for myself tomorrow. And I'll take the ends off. And some of these darkened leaves I'll pull off. You can. Have you looked at an artichoke really carefully? Sometimes they have really little picky things on top that are annoying when you touch them, but I don't bother with that. You can take them off if you want to. I'll take these ends off, take off a couple of these dark leaves. These are beautiful big artichokes. These come from Sutton Place Gourmet, which supplies us with our vegetables, and I love them and love the vegetables. That was a good shot. And I'll take the other one off. Now, have you ever seen how to clean an artichoke and how to wash it? Did you see that when I took this off? It had a little bit of dark there, so I just cut another 1/4 inch off to get rid of that. These have already been cleaned, but when you clean them, lean on them with all your weight and then run the water through them, and that's already been done. And I'll lean on each one just to make sure that they get a lot of steam in between. And I'm going to put all 3 of them in the boiling water. And it's boiling beautifully. Now, there are lots of ways to cook artichokes. You can cook artichokes with a dish on top, a dish obviously that doesn't break. But if I have 3 of them in here, then they're not going to move around and go tipping around so that they become different colors. So the reason I have 3 is so they won't tip over and they're kind of staying together. I could have put maybe 2 or 3 inches of water and steam them really, or like I have now, a lot of water. And they'll just kind of sit here floating on top. I could put a plate and a brick on top of that, but they will do just fine. There's no magic way, and if you haven't tried artichokes, kids love them. I started out my kids when they were, I think, about 3, and they were talking about artichokes and avocados and asparagus that they were eating in the neighborhood when the other kids that were 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds were eating different foods. But they kind of liked the fact that they had different food, and now they have children of their own. At least my daughter does. She has a beautiful little child named Wolf, who is my grandchild. Now let's do the rice because that takes the next longest. This is chicken stock. I can do it myself with the chicken, or I can get it out of a can. This one we got out of a can, and it's already been partially defatted, but we still have some fat in it. Can you see the little bit of fat at the top? And this is a defatting cup. This is magic in your kitchen. This is the kind of cup that you want to have. I have about 8 of these, and I give them away to all my friends. Now, let's put this in. One thing about rice, once you start making it, you don't want to play around with it and take the lid off because it has to steam. So I'm going to pour this chicken stock in, and we'll have twice as much liquid to our rice. Wild rice takes a little bit longer to cook now than white rice. Brown rice, see that? There's the fat left in it. Brown rice takes a little longer to cook than white rice. So wild rice takes the longest. We've got a cup of wild rice and 2 cups of our chicken stock. Now, at the same time as the wild rice, I'm going to put in something very interesting. Where is it? Where are our pecans? Here they are. I'm going to make pecan rice because it's so good. Let me grab a spoon over here. And I'm going to put some chopped pecans, about 3 tablespoons of chopped pecans in here. Put that fire up real high. And what else do I want to put in here? Anything in our wild rice? Yes, I'll put a little bit of, this is zest, about a teaspoon of zest.
orange zest. You could use lemon, but the orange is better. It gives it a nice rich flavor with the pecans. And I want to give it more bite and a little more flavor, so I'm going to put about almost 2/3 of a cup, maybe closer to 3/4 of a cup of onion. It can all cook at once. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to do it separately. You don't. There's no fat in this at all. So I'll put the lid on this and put our fire up real high and let this cook. And I'm not going to look at it at all until it's already cooked. Now we're going to have quail. Quail, I think, is very romantic. Some people say, how can you eat those little beautiful little tiny things? I used to raise quail in Virginia Beach, not because I wanted to eat them, but because I wanted to hear them. And I wanted to listen to them in the morning because they make a little Bob White noise that I like. Have you heard that sound? I won't say it because if I say it, you'll laugh at me. Now, if you want to, you can take the skin off of this quail. These quail are a little bit fat because these are domestic quail. If these were wild quail, these legs would be so tough you couldn't even eat them. But these being domestic quail have a little bit of fat on them, but we'll take all the fat off of them, and you, as I say, you could skin it. See that? That's fat. But there's so little on these, we're going to leave them just as they are. When you have quail like this domestic quail, you can have maybe 2 or 3 per person, probably 2 per person. You just pick it up and eat it and pull it apart. And our stuffing for our quail is 1/2 a cup of onions, chopped up, about 2/3 of a cup of apple, some celery, and some grapes. And we'll just take a handful of these grapes, about a cup, mix it all up, and we'll stuff those quail. Now, they're hard to stuff because there's not a very big opening in here, so we're just going to push these in, and I'll just stuff 2 or 3 of them here. You can cook these in the micro if you want to, in a plastic bag. You want to set them on something so the fat drains out. There. There's 1 quail stuffed. And we'll have, as I say, about 2 per person. And when I get through stuffing these, one way to make them real shiny and nice and crisp is to put a glaze on them. So I've got some nice ingredients here for a glaze, and I'll do that a little bit later because I want to show you this glaze. This glaze is real simple, and it's just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, a tiny bit of oil. This is canola oil, not very much. Let's see where our spoon is here. And I'll mix that up, and a little bit of orange juice, because that'll give it a really nice flavor. And we're going to make, for our quail, we're going to make a nice sauce afterwards. So I'll put this on them. And then I'm going to pour the rest of the glaze in the bottom of the dish and put a little bit inside. And I'll pour the rest of the glaze in the bottom of the dish so they kind of steam. And we'll be right back with more recipes and tips on making your romantic night very special.
And now, today's main recipe dish. It serves 2. Take 4 to 6 skinned quail, or if there's not much fat on them, don't skin them. 1/2 cup onions for the stuffing, and these are chopped. 2/3 cup chopped apple, and leave the skin on. 1 to 2 cups of chopped green grapes. 1/2 cup of chopped celery. Mix this all up and stuff it in the quail. Now for the glaze that will go on the quail. 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 teaspoon of canola, and 2 tablespoons of orange juice. Mix it all up and put it on the quail with your hands or with a brush. Now for the sauce to put on the quail after it's cooked and before you serve it. In 1/2 inch of water in a large pan, put 2 tablespoons of chopped shallots, 1/2 cup of orange juice, 1 cup of chopped canned or fresh mushrooms, fresh take a little longer, 1 cup of whole grapes, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1/4 cup of Madeira wine, into which you mix 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and that you'll use to thicken it. And now, back to the program.
We're back with our romantic dinner, and I have some grapes and apples and onions left, so I'm going to put them all in here. They can cook with this. I can defat whatever liquid is in here, too. I'm going to put this in the oven, and I'm going to bake it at 4. It's going to start at 400, but it's going to end up. I'll show you what I do. I'll put the heat down. I already have some that have been cooked ahead of time, so you can see what they look like. Now let's put this oven down to about 325, and that'll cook for about 15-20 minutes. You want to look at them and make sure. But don't those look wonderful? I think they look fabulous. Now, I'm going to remove this because I was doing my quail on it, and I don't want to cross-contaminate. Anytime you make poultry, you have to act like the poultry has salmonella, and quail, of course, are poultry. So I'm always going to wash my hands with soap and use different tools, not the same tool, so I'll move these off of here. All right, let's make a sauce for the quail. I think I'll make first a vinaigrette for my, my asparagus, and a vinaigrette is real easy to do. This is a classic French vinaigrette. It is plain vinegar. You can use wine vinegar if you want, about so much. A little bit of sugar for a classic French vinaigrette. I'll use about quarter to a half a teaspoon. It's whatever you like, and a tiny bit of water to cut that vinegar. Now, if you want some oil, you've got some canola oil or olive oil. I've got olive oil today, but I'm not going to use very much. And I'll put that on at the last minute and whisk it up so I mix it just a little bit better. But I've got it all made and all set. Now, let's make a sauce for our artichokes. And first, let's look at them, see how they're doing. They're boiling away, yep. And see, they're still staying nice and centered. Our artichoke sauce is made from milk, and this is skim milk again. You know what we use on this program. And this is non-fat mayonnaise. This is Dijon mustard, and this is called prepared mustard because it's already fixed with some vinegar and water. And this is dry mustard. And so we'll make it out of that. Now, the only reason I have skim milk is because different brands of mustard have different amounts. Let me get a spoon over here. There's a wooden spoon. Different brands of mustard and different brands of non-fat mayo, they have different amounts of liquid in them. So you want to have some skim milk if you want to thin it out. But this makes a really nice dip for the artichoke. So it's just a little bit of mustard, and it looks like the right consistency. That's when I say a little bit, let's say a half a cup so you know. And about 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, about a half a teaspoon of dry mustard, and I think that's the right consistency right there. And that will be our dip for our artichoke. Artichokes are so good. Okay, let's make a sauce to put on top of our romantic quail. And I think quail are very romantic. I'm going to make a nice sauce for our quail so we have a little bit more moisture because I didn't cook these in a bag, so they might be a little bit dry. The way I'll do that is first, don't cook with any oil or fat. And I do this at home, so you can do what you want out. You can be a little freer when you're out. I'll use some shallots. This is about 2 tablespoons of shallots, and I have a real hot pan, as you can see. And I just put them in there with a little bit of water. I'm going to put some orange juice in there for our glaze, and some mushrooms. Now, these mushrooms have been canned. You can use fresh mushrooms. They'll cook up just the same. They take a tiny bit longer. And some grapes. We'll put some grapes in there too, so we have lots of grapes. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of lemon juice in that, and that's about a teaspoon of lemon juice. And to sweeten it up a little bit, about a teaspoon of sugar. That might be a little less, about 3/4 of a teaspoon. We'll taste that to see that that's okay. I've got my good old trusty tasting spoon here, and some Madeira wine. But one of the things I'm going to do with the wine is I'm going to mix it with some cornstarch. Cornstarch is one of the thickeners that are nice to use, except you cannot reheat cornstarch. It has to be just as you have made it because it doesn't stand up under reheating. Let's see if we have a whisk there. Nope, but I've got a fork, and that'll work just as well as a whisk there. Now, I've made a little bit of cornstarch. This is about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch in about a half a cup of liquid, and get all the lumps out of that. Now, for my taste, this sauce is not quite liquid enough. So I'm going to put a little bit of, let's put a little bit more water in that, just a tiny bit, not much. All right, get that real liquid. Now, I've mixed my cornstarch with my sugar. Let's see if that's the thickness we want. Have I ever showed you this tasting spoon before? Can't have much stuff in it. Let's see how we can do that. Aha! See, and then you don't get. That's perfect. Now, let's put in our mixture of cornstarch and Madeira wine. And I'll stir that up. Let's make sure our heat is high enough. It is. While this is cooking, I'm going to take a look at our artichokes. They are perfect and they are done. The rice takes about 40 minutes to cook. The artichokes almost as long. Look at that. It is a perfect artichoke, all done. And this one, let's poke that down because it can actually stay another minute or two, but not much longer than that. And if I keep it like that, like 3/4 covered, then it's not going to discolor. And I'll take the heat off of that because I don't want them to overcook. Nothing worse than mushy artichokes. Let's see how our sauce is thickening up. There it goes. Starting to thicken, and you need to stir it as it thickens.
Quail is so spectacular. Serve it with wild rice and lots of lightly cooked vegetables. Who says low cholesterol meals can't be romantic?
Welcome back to my home kitchen. We're going from the exotic, which is the quail, to one of my favorite foods, pizza. And pizza can be very good for you. The bottom part is grain, it's crust, has very little fat in it, and if you get a vegetarian pizza, it's wonderful. Now, when you're having a pizza when you're out, don't have it with the sausage. Put it on at home because now you know how to make a sausage that has very few saturates in it. Isn't that nice? Because you can use it on your pizza now. But when you're going out, have a vegetarian pizza and have them put half the cheese on. And remember, a lot of the cheese in the pizza parlors don't have a lot of saturates in it because a lot of it is not dairy product. Some of it is. If they advertise as dairy product, don't get it there. Have half the cheese. And what about snack foods? And I consider pizza a snack food. I think they're great if you know which kind to pick. I've got 3 in front of me that are wonderful. Caramel corn, it's fantastic. I want to tell you something about caramel corn that I found fascinating. You know, corn comes from this hemisphere, and the Indians made caramel corn hundreds, maybe even thousands of years ago because they would pop the corn over fires and then they would drip maple syrup on it, and they made caramel corn, and it was wonderful. And this particular brand, which is a little bit lighter, when you find the light kind, look on the label, this is made with maple syrup. It's wonderful, and it's good for you, good for your teeth too, as long as you don't break them. But it's good for your jaws, good for your bones. And these are dates, and they're from Israel, and these dates are not thousands of years old. These are just a couple weeks old, but dates go back for thousands and thousands of years. I've read somewhere that maybe as far back as 4,000 or as far back as they know. Dates are wonderful snack foods. And this, no, it's not burned potato chips. It's sweet potato chips, and you can find them now in some stores. And this brand was made with safflower oil, so they're really, really good for you. And what's the ultimate snack? Of course, fruit. Now, the problem with having a fruit basket is that it never looks like this. Mine never looks this good because people are always in it, but that's what I want them to do. And how about having a really exotic or interesting fruit like this papaya from South America and Mexico? And if I have these things out, finally the kids will say, you know, like a star fruit or something like that, the kids will say, what is that? And I say, it's a papaya. Put a little lime on it, and it is so sweet and it is so delicious. The kids and everyone will love it. So let's go back to our set kitchen. The way we have pizza in America doesn't quite fit the definition of heart healthy. In fact, not by a mile. We simply use too much fatty cheese and too much meat. We don't have to have the fattiest cheese on our pizza if we have really good fresh ingredients that are on the pizza already, you know, like good green peppers and pepperoni. Yes, a little bit of pepperoni. I'll show you how to do it in just a minute. And if we have really fresh, nice onions, and we have good mushrooms, and what do you like on pizza? Do you like olives? Do you like anchovies? Now, I like anchovies. Not everybody does, but in fact, I have decided there is nothing that I don't like, no food at all, which makes it very difficult because I like everything. Once I taste it, especially if that culture has made it for me and make it in the way they love it. I haven't had any bugs yet, you know, like bugs with chocolate on them. I have not had that, so don't send me any bugs, and I haven't had snake. But everything I like. We don't have to have pizza with everything on it so much because there are wonderful cheeses that are not really fatty. But in fact, there's one out that has no saturated fat in it at all. And I'm going to show you those in just a minute, show you what they look like, what they feel like, and some of them melt beautifully. But first, I'm going to make a pizza dough from scratch because when I want a really good pizza, I don't want to use bread. and I don't want to buy the ready-made in the market. I want a really fresh pizza dough. I have been known to go to my local pizzeria and please, Mr. Manager or Ms. Manager, would you give me one of your pizza doughs for a couple of dollars? And you know what? They always do. One of them even gave me a pan for a while, and so for years I had this wonderful pan, and he would just keep giving me new dough. And then the manager changed, and I had to bring the pan back, and I couldn't do that. All right, we're going to make the dough today from scratch because anybody can do it, and it's better. And there's lots of things you can do with pizza dough. You can wrap other foods in it and cook it, and there's a restaurant around here in Washington, Belmont Kitchen, that uses it with mushrooms. All right, pizza dough is easy. Two cups of regular flour, just a regular good flour. Now, one of the things you want to do with a pizza dough is you want to make sure that it's going to rise. And so you have to use yeast because you don't want a cracker like pizza dough. You want one that's soft and nice. So I've used 2 cups. Now, we're going to use the dry method of making the yeast rise. And we're going to use this kind of a yeast. I want to show you this, what it looks like. There's lots of different kinds of yeast out, and this is one type of yeast. Now, I'll put it in here in just a minute. Now, you could put it in this little bit of water, stir it around, and let it start fermenting there, or start dissolving actually there. It actually rises as it gets warm. And if you don't want a high pizza, like, nice and thick, that's the way I like it. If you want one that's real thin, then you pop it down and you don't let it rise. But if you want it nice and thick the way I like it, then you want to make sure that it rises, and it takes a while. It may take a half an hour or so. And you want to cover it with a terry cloth towel or some kind of a tea towel. I'm going to put this right in here, and that's just a package. Here's another kind of yeast. Some people like to use this kind of yeast. It depends on what you like, and have you used yeast before. This is real easy, so if you haven't, maybe you don't want to play with this. Slightly different flavors, some people say. Now, this you use warm water to dissolve to. And there's another kind that's really fast, and you can use hot water, but if you use hot water for these two, it won't work. Is that getting complicated? Don't worry about it. Just use warm water. This way, we'll use the dry method. We won't even use any water. So we've got this yeast in 2 cups of flour. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of canola oil. Remember, that's the oil with the lowest saturated fat at 5 grams for 5 grams for 3.5 ounces, and olive oil has 11, and corn oil has 11 or 12, and peanuts 16. So you want to keep your saturates way down, and one way to do it is by using canola oil. Safflower oil isn't much worse. Safflower oil is only 6 or 7 grams for 3.5 ounces. Now I'm going to mix this up. Let's raise this up so it's nice and high here. And this is a really good mixer, and this paddle starts mixing it, getting really, really nice and bready-like. Now I can show this to you. There, let's take some of this off. See what that looks like? That's exactly the way it's supposed to look. Now, from that, I would put a lot of flour on it, and we'll do that right now, and I'm going to roll it out because then I want it to rise. But I don't have to, I wouldn't roll it out first. I would just want it to rise. And so I would cover it with a little cloth and put it in a warm place and let it rise. Now, I've already done that with one, let it rise for about a half an hour, and here it is. And this is what it looks like when it has risen up. And it's easy to work with. You really can't hurt it very much. So I'm going to roll this out just a little bit more so it's a little bit flatter. Now, if I wanted to make something really thick and put a filling in here, I could do this, but this thing would rise up like this. So you don't want to really do that. So you want to roll it out just a little bit, and I have this gorgeous big roller, and then I'll pat it the rest of the way. And let's put some more flour on here. I've got so much stuff in here. I don't have a lot of room to use this nice big roller. The best thing about doing this is that when you make your sauce from scratch, I'm running out of space here. Well, let's just move this guy over. We'll just kind of push him down and not roll it and knock everything off the counter, because if I mix it up, then I won't be able to show you everything else. Okay, that looks pretty good. There we go. And then we can push it out. Am I going to throw it up in the air? No, because I couldn't catch it. I've done that. I'm not very good at that. All right, now we can push it out like so. Now, if I cook it right now, it's going to make a rather flat crust, but it's good. But if I wait for a while, then it'll rise up again a little bit more. I can cover this just like this. But we'll put the topping on right now. in just a moment because this will rise just a little bit. I don't want it to dry, so let me put some paper towel over it while I'm doing this. Now, when we make our topping, let's do it from scratch. Again, no fat or oil. You don't need it. And we'll put about a cup of onions in this because I want a really, really good topping with lots of onions. And I want about a half a cup of green peppers and about a cup of tomato sauce. Now you can use any kind of tomato sauce you want. You can use a tomato paste, which is a little bit better because it's a little bit stronger. So we have about a cup and a half of tomato sauce in here that's slightly thinned out. And you can see the consistency of that. That's not as thick as it is in the can. It's a little bit thinner. We'll mix that up and start that cooking. You don't have to do it one thing at a time. Now, I like a lot of garlic in it, so we've got about 2 tablespoons of garlic and a little bit of sugar. Sugar helps because if you have a little bit of sugar in it, it gives it that nice flavor. Let's say the harvest was just a little bit bitter. It'll just kind of pop it up a little bit. Now, if you're using some salt, this is light salt. Again, it's half potassium and half salt. A lot of people who are on salt-restricted diets use that. And some of my favorite spices, oregano and basil. Now, if we use the oregano, I like it 2 to 1. So this is about a teaspoon of oregano, and this is about 2 teaspoons of basil. If they're fresh, double that amount. We'll stir that up. We're going to put it on our pizza right now.
And now our recipe. We'll do the dough and we'll do the sauce. 2 cups of regular flour for the dough, 1 package dry yeast, 2 tablespoons canola oil, and flour for rolling. Now the sauce. In 1/2 inch of water, put 1 cup of chopped onions, 1/2 cup of chopped green peppers, 1 cup tomato sauce to which you've added 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic, 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of light salt, and that's optional, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 2 teaspoons of dried basil. If they're fresh, double those. 1/4 cup of low-fat cheese, and 2 tablespoons of chopped pepperoni. And remember, the cheese and the pepperoni are for the toppings. And now, back to the program.
The cheese toppings are where the problem is. Now, I've rolled out this pizza dough that was made previously, and I want to make sure that you have the right formula here for your pizza dough. After I mixed it in the mixer with this nice, great big paddle beater, then I still have some more flour to put in it, and you knead it. It needs to be kneaded. You can do it in the mixer if you want to. You can see how mucky this still is. It still has too much water compared to the dough. So we're going to put another cup in. Here we got an exact cup measured out, and we're going to mix it in here. I'm not going to do all this right now, but I want you to know that you need to do that. And you let it rise, and you push it on the board with the heel of your hand and get all of this in there. And if I worked another 5 minutes, I could do that, but I've already done that ahead of time for you. And you can see as I'm doing this how nice it's feeling, and I can keep pushing this flour right into the dough and just keep pushing it with the heel of my hand and making it work. And then I would cover it up, let it rise, and you can let it rise more than once if you want. And again, if you want a flat pizza, then you push it down real flat and you don't let it rise. And some people like it that way. I don't know who, but some people do. Not me. But some people like pizzas with great, have you seen them with a really thick crust, the huge ones? They're a little bit much, but I like them. I like them. There isn't much I don't like about pizza. All right. Now, I've taken a look at this sauce, and I added a little bit more tomato paste to it because look and see what it is that you like and what you want to do with it and how it's going to taste to your family. And this is absolutely perfect now. One of the reasons that I put my onions and my green peppers in the sauce this way is because I don't want to have to worry about them singeing if I've got it in the oven. Ovens at home don't work quite the same way as they do in a pizza parlor. We have a stone in our oven. Have you ever seen a pizza stone? It's like a it's like a brick. Sometimes they're round. Ours is square, and it's made of ceramic brick material, and it gets the bottom of the pizza really, really hot and crisp so that you don't have this kind of messy, oily bottom that is not going to be good for when you get into the middle. Then it's still soft and kind of liquidy, and that's not what you want. You want it real nice and crisp on the bottom, and the pizza stone does that beautifully, and I'll show you that as soon as I open the oven. All right, this way I make sure that I've got a lot of my green pepper that's already cooked and a lot of the onion that's already cooked. We can put onion on top of this too, because then we'll have some that's not quite as cooked, and they can be in different stages of cooking. On this pizza, I'm going to put some pepperoni, but do you see how thin that I've had it cut? And look at it's greasy. So before I put it on, but look how thin that is. It's like a wafer. But if I don't want it this greasy, you know what I can do with this? I can blot it. I can also, instead of putting whole pieces on, I can put little tiny pieces like this. You don't need a lot of it to have the flavor. All I need is a tiny little bit to have the flavor, and that's what I'm going to do. There's another way to do it too. You can put it in a little bit of water in a pan and put it on the stove, and as the water starts to cook, it gets all the fat out of it. Doesn't have quite as much flavor that way, so I think this is the better way to do it. I've seen sometimes you can microwave it just a little bit to get the rest of the fat out, but you don't need the fat. That's not where the flavor is. Honest, it's not where the flavor is. Okay, we've got our pizza. Let's put a few green peppers on here, not many, and I'm going to push them down into this nice hot sauce so they'll cook, and they look so pretty, and I'll put some mushrooms on. Now these mushrooms are canned, so they don't have to cook thoroughly because they're already cooked when they're canned, so they will do really well. And I'll put some black olives. I put everything on it that I like, see, because I get to do this. And this is the way I like a pizza. Now if you wanted to, you could put some Parmesan cheese on that, because Parmesan cheese has very little, it's got a lot of salt in it, but per ounce you can use a lot of it, and it goes a long ways. On my half, I'm putting a few little anchovies, and they do have some salt in them. But we're all set with our pizza, so I'm going to put that in the oven when I put the cheese on it. Now, I want to show you the cheese first before I do this, because the cheese is what's important. This is all cheese that's other than dairy cheese, and I want to show you how many different kinds there are. This kind right here has no saturates in it at all, none. And it looks and melts very nicely. Now this kind is a fake cheese, but they don't tell you how many saturates are in it. So you know what? I'm not going to use it because they just don't tell you. Now this is a very low saturated fat cheddar cheese, and if you like cheddar cheese on your pizza, you can use that. Now we're going to be this one right here has the least amount of saturates of the kind that, look at how greasy that is. Let's just blot that. That's easy to do. We'll just take some more oil off of that. Now this has got 4 grams of saturates, this 5 and this 7. Now, if I want to, I can put nice big pieces of cheese. So when you get a bite of cheese, you're getting a really big hunk of it. And it feels good, and it kind of melts just the way regular cheese does. And if you want to, take some more of this kind and put it in between.
This pizza is gorgeous, and your family will love it. If you use a non-dairy cheese, they melt very well. It will have no cholesterol. Your family's going to love this. It is so good.
Welcome back to my home kitchen. You know, the recipe that I'm asked for most often everywhere I travel is a particular holiday, and it's Thanksgiving. And the next recipes we're going to show you are about how to do a turkey and dressing very low in saturated fat and cholesterol. And one of the foods that we're used to eating with turkey is cranberry sauce. I like it all year round. It's wonderful. And it's very easy to make. Don't buy the canned kind. Get the fresh berries. You just put them in a pan, a little bit of orange juice, some sugar. Make sure you have enough sugar because they can be sour. Turn the heat on high till the berries burst. Then turn it down low. You don't have to cover it. And after about 6-7 minutes, the cranberries are absolutely delicious. You can have it with fish, other poultry like duck or chicken. You can have it with no animal products at all, just with vegetables. I love it. It's really spicy and good. And now back to our set kitchen. This is the traditional way turkey is presented during Thanksgiving, the Norman Rockwell presentation. And this is the way that a turkey usually comes from the store. Do you see the amount of fat that's in that turkey? And that fat goes into your stuffing, and it goes into the meat, and you don't have to keep it in there because it does not give you the taste. Honest, the taste is in the meat of the bird. You don't have to have the fat there. Let me show you how much fat is in the neck. It's even worse. I mean, if I could pick this thing up easily, I'd throw it. I mean, I want turkey for Thanksgiving, but the fat content is horrible. This is not skin, by the way. This is all fat right here that I've got in my hand. The skin is right here on the outside, but underneath here is all fat. And can you see right in here on this? Let's see if I can get that. Yeah, right there. That's all fat too. So the first thing I do if I want a turkey like this is I'm going to move this guy aside now. Let's get rid of him because we don't want to use a turkey like this. So, now, this is what I did with the turkey. You see, I cut it all out. And yes, I cut all of this skin out too, because you don't have to have this skin on here to cover the dressing. And we can make the dressing that's low fat too. Now, not only did I cut it out there, but I cut it out here. So it's not going to drip. All of this extra fat, which just puts weight on you. Let me show you the inside of this guy because there's fat everywhere. I mean, there's fat back here. Believe me, you will have enough fat. Okay, now this, you see this right here? This is also total fat. Now, I have made the mistake of cutting this out, sewing it back up. It doesn't work real well. There's just too much fat in the birds. This is a bird that is a fresh-killed bird. It is better tasting, it is more tender, it is moister, and the biggest thing about it is that it does not have this shot in here that they put in, just like a hypodermic needle, full of saturated fat, which is coconut oil. If you look on the label of most of these frozen birds, they're full of this coconut oil. Now, what did I do with all the stuff that was inside? Well, I'm going to throw that guy away. I've got double here. Now, this is the liver. You don't want to use this in your giblets because it gives it a bad taste. We don't want to eat it. It's got a lot of cholesterol in it. So we're not, and it has an enormous amount for 3.5 ounces. That right there is probably 600 milligrams of cholesterol right there. And we don't want that. That's more than we should have all day. Double what we should have. So I'm going to toss that in my basket. Now, one of the things we're going to do with the stock, we're going to use the stock for the dressing, and we're going to defat it. And normally, I would just cook this. These are the giblets. This is the gizzard or the stomach, and this is the heart. You see how much fat is on these things? And normally, I would just plain cook these because we'll use it in the dressing. But what I did was, because I want to use it in the stuffing, I took the fat off. I'm just going to throw it in here, and I'm going to throw these in too from the other bird, because the fat won't matter when I put it in here. I'm putting all the skin goes in there, everything goes in there, not the liver, but the heart goes in there. But the heart and gizzard that I'm going to use don't have any fat on them. And why? Because then I don't have to cut it off. Now, what I've done is I've cooked a lot of it here. You can see it over here, and it's full. This is all the skin that I took off. Everything is right there because I'm going to defat the stock, but then I don't have to try to cut the fat off the giblets later. Here's another way to do the turkey. This is a turkey breast. Now, this is a big turkey breast, and you can see, again, it has a lot of fat under the skin, a lot of fat in here. I'm not going to use that. So put this guy aside, and I want to show you one more before we get started with the stuffing. And this is a turkey breast, which is very easy to stuff because it has the skin all taken off and the bones all taken out. So this is another way to do it. I'm going to do one with the bone in. But you could cut all of, and this is just a tendon here, but you could cut every bit of the skin and bone out, and you could debone it. But today, we're going to do it just a little bit differently. So this is what we've got. Now, this is for those of you who want a turkey that is the breast, which has the least amount of cholesterol and saturated fat. It's all taken out in here. This is simply a membrane. And this is where it's going to be stuffed, right in here. And it works perfectly. And we're going to cook this in the microwave. And I'm going to start putting this stuffing together right now. You can also put stuffing in here. And this is a nice big one. This is how you want to do it, though. All right, let's put this guy aside and bring this turkey back right. We'll leave it here. And I'm going to start the stuffing. Now, this is regular stuffing that you would buy in your store that's already breaded. It's got a little bit of flavoring in it. There are a lot of brands. For a turkey this size, this is about a 14-pound turkey, you want the big bag that's 16 ounces of stuffing. For the breast, which is about, that looks like about 12-pound breast, I cooked a smaller breast this weekend, and you want the stuffing, you can put more stuffing in. It doesn't matter if it falls out because it works when you're, because this stuffing you do a little bit differently, and let's start and do it. Now, I add to this commercially bought stuffing, and you can make your own, you know that. You can make your own with breadcrumbs. But I add to this a couple of cups of onion, because that makes it really, really good. And then some celery, and that makes it really, really good too. Yes, it has some dried onion and celery in it, but we want to add that in it anyway. Now, the other things I'm going to add to is I wanted to show you something here. This is sage, and this makes it wonderful and makes it very special. All right, this sage is the way it comes from the garden. This is a leafed sage, and you can get this already in a jar, and if you use this, you use a couple tablespoons in this. You want to rub it in your hands, which brings out the oils. And this is a couple of tablespoons for this, and that is perfect. But now, for the skin on our other bird, we're going to use a dried crumbled sage, which is a little bit different again. So this is what our stuffing is, and instead of adding any margarine or any butter to it, we're going to only add the stock that I will be defatting right now. All right, this is already stock that I've been cooking, and you know how to do this. After you cook the stock and all the giblets, I've got some more over here. Can you see the fat that's risen to the top here? And I'm going to start, this is hot, and I'm going to pour this in. Now, I want this only thick enough to be able to make a ball like a baseball.
This is my recipe for Thanksgiving turkey. Prepare the bird by removing all the fat anywhere you see it. Pull it out, scrape it away, cut it off. The fat is where the saturates are. For the stuffing, to 2 small packages of commercial stuffing, add 1 cup chopped onion, 1 cup chopped celery, 1 to 2 teaspoons of crumbled sage. For the margarine or butter called for in your commercial dressing, substitute water or defatted stock. When it calls for more liquid, add whatever defatted stock or water the recipe calls for. It will be very moist and you won't miss the fat. Here, add whatever apples, prunes, defatted giblets that you like. Stuff tightly. Put in an oven-proof bag. Read the directions for your size turkey. They will say to cook it about 20 minutes to the pound at 350 degrees. You can have a glorious Thanksgiving that is very low in fat and cholesterol. You can see how beautiful this food is. Use your favorite recipes. Just make wise substitutions. Use substitute eggs in pies, evaporated skim milk, defatted stock for gravy. You can do it, and you'll have a Thanksgiving that is very healthy. Eat up and enjoy.
Welcome back to my home kitchen. It's been really nice to have you in my home, and I want to thank you for having me in your home on the Low Cholesterol Gourmet every day. You've been so nice to buy my videotape and my book, and I appreciate that. And I love giving you extra tips and hints on how to have low cholesterol, low saturated fat meals. I want to show you some more personal things of mine. Behind me, my grandmother left me her cake pan, and I use it today. I just spray it, and it's wonderful. And there are so many cakes that you can make without any fat in them. I've got them in the book, and they are delicious. You can have to kind of cheat a little bit on the frosting, but you can buy things with very low saturates, like skim milk. You can make a wonderful frosting with that if you have to have something really, really sweet on it. And this is my grandmother's fork. And isn't it pretty? I love it. And I love having it just kind of hang right in my kitchen. And over here, isn't this wonderful? This is the most wonderful pan because it's for angel food cake. And angel food cake is the cake that is the most healthy on a low cholesterol, low saturated fat diet because it has no fat in it at all, just egg whites that are cooked. I want to show you something
something really clever on this. The old-fashioned things are really nice. They knew what to do. They may have stuck to it, but a little spray will help that. Look at the bottom here. Can you see this? It has one on each side, these little kind of vents. I think they're wonderful and so clever. I love this pan, probably used in the 20s. Can you kind of get a little glimpse of this underneath? This is a pastry scraper. They could get this off of the pastry off the counter with this. It's really kind of nifty. Let's come on down here a little bit. I've got my spices and peppers, and up here is a mold, and you can make Jell-O in this, which has no cholesterol, no saturated fat, lots of different kinds of gelatin dishes. And over here, let's look at this. Do you remember any of these? This was on my mother's counter when I was a little girl. This is a miniature one, but it works beautifully. My mother had a great big one, but you can grind up meat in that. And that's what I want you to do, is buy the leanest meat that you can buy and grind it up after you've taken all the fat out of it. I thank you again for joining me. This has been wonderful for me, and I appreciate again your buying my book and this tape. And I'll have lots of other hints for you, and lots of other tapes for you, and other books for you. I'm Lynn Fischer, the Low Cholesterol Gourmet.